just like with talent, like if you love to run, you're going to find a way to run. If you love to act, you're going to find a way to act. If you love to play an instrument, you're going to figure out how to do it. So I believe and I hope that, these young athletes will still follow that passion of running. And even if it kind of goes back to your previous question with the bells and whistles and the fancy track, and then maybe not so ideal coaching, you can have a really, really good experience at a D3, D2 school.
Who you just heard was Lisa Landrum. She's a very prominent running coach in the Charlotte community, and today I have her on the Long Run podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you're on YouTube, there's a very annoying cursor that will be on my screen for about 10 minutes. It'll be on next podcast, I swear, but for the time being, feel free to hop over to the Apple Podcast. It'll be linked down in the description. Thank you so much for tuning in, and without further ado, let's get straight into the video. Thank you. I'm so excited to have you. For our listeners who aren't familiar with you, you wear many hats in the Charlotte running community. Where did it all get started? Like, how did you get into running and why?
Wow. Yes. Thank you, first of all, for having me. I am very excited to be doing this with you, Zach. I love your initiative, and I love that you're doing this. For me, I have really always run. Like, I can't remember a time in my life when I didn't run. It started in elementary school with track. And at that point, it really was just messing around with friends. Like, I loved the time after school. I loved practice. And we were just having fun. And then I continued running through high school. I didn't, and it's interesting. This is a little caveat. I actually did sprints in high school, and my coaches all said, Lisa, you should do long distance. And I was like, no way. No, it's cross country, too far. So then in college, I ran recreationally, not on a team or a club. But then as an adult, after I graduated from college, that's when running really just became just a really special part of my life that I love, and I'm very glad that I have.
Gotcha. And you mentioned you ran an elementary school track.
Did.
I mean, me personally, I've never heard of an elementary school that does track. How did that did that really build a connection? Was that like, oh, I've done it since I was young? Because I know I used to play piano, and I was like, I played in kindergarten, and I just wanted to keep doing it. Is that kind of what really kept you there, or was there another event where you were like?
So, I will say I don't think that I had the connection personally with running until I was only doing it for myself. I really, like I said, I enjoyed the teams. I enjoyed the camaraderie. I enjoyed my relationships with the coaches always. But once I started doing it solely for me, for my own personal goals and on my terms, that's when I really got hooked, I would say.
Gotcha. All right. Well, now more recently,
Yes.
you've tackled an incredible range of races, spanning from 5Ks to 100 miles. I've done my research.
You have.
Can you share some highlights? What were your favorite races? What were not your favorite races?
Yeah. I joke now, Zach, that I would rather run a 50 miler than a 5K. Running fast is not my friend. I do not enjoy running fast anymore. I really like the runs where I am out in nature. I really love trail running when it's just you and the earth and the trail and the trees. And it's definitely more of a solo endeavor. But those races that I have done really taught me a lot about myself as a person.
Gotcha. Running isn't smooth sailing. Have you ever had injuries or something that really set you back from this training? Or obviously,
Yes.
I've never heard of a runner that didn't have an injury, but it's possible.
I haven't either, and I've been around a lot longer than you. So, I would venture to guess most runners have at least some sort of injury. If it's not physical, they get burnt out. So I kind of equate both of those as setbacks. And I've definitely experienced both. There have definitely been times when I just have kind of maybe trained too hard or, just needed a break. And those mental challenges, I think, are sometimes not really talked about as much, but they are definitely a part of it. Um, Physically, I have definitely had my share of injuries. The one that set me back the most, I had a hamstring injury, and I was aqua jogging, Zach, for like
Wow.
3 months. 3 months. Um, don't recommend. And I will say, you know this about me, but I am a huge believer in preventative
Mhm.
strength training, as
Yes.
opposed to, getting injured and then realizing the steps that you could take to get better could have also prevented the injury. So
Gotcha.
I think that I've become a little bit wiser in my old age, and I definitely am way more in tune to the preventative side of it.
Yeah, because I know that's a problem with me. I'll get like a small little thing in my hamstring or my calf, and I'll be like, okay, I'll just do my training, and then I'll stretch it, I'll do some strength, and then I'll be done. And then it'll come back again. And I'm like, oh, why do I have to do this? And I feel like they just keep like stacking up. Like, I have to do this. Like, my hamstring hurts. Got to do this as well. It's got to do that.
Mhm.
So it's
Mhm.
very a tedious process.
It is. It is.
You mentioned your training, how that was a big problem with your some of your physical injuries. Obviously, training for a 100 miler is definitely different from training for a 5K. What are some
Mhm.
of like the key philosophies you have of this training?
Yeah. Are you talking about specifically for the longer
Yeah,
distances?
yeah.
Yeah. The biggest thing with that is kind of stacking the mileage. So, if you're training for a 100-mile race, obviously because of wear and tear on your body, you can't go and do, 50-mile training runs and then be fresh enough to continue on through the rest of the training. So, I am a big believer in quality miles over quantity. When I was training for my 100 milers, I never got past like 75 miles a week, which is really not a lot, honestly, for that distance. And the thing is that, it's the cumulative stress that you put on your body. So I would go out and do a really long run on Saturday and then turn around and do a really long run on Sunday, right? So you're never giving your body a chance to recover. Um, the other thing is that with those longer distances, so much of it is mental. So, I would go out and do some training runs at night, by myself, with just my hydration and my fuel. So that piece of it is definitely something that you have to train as well. And that's what I really enjoyed. I like those solo long runs.
Gotcha. Um, so with your coaching experience, because obviously you made Run CLT Run, which is a huge program now. I mean, everyone on my track team at least knows it. What are some like fundamental mistakes that you see some runners doing that like you're like, this is really gonna hurt them in the long run? Like I need to tell them. Like,
Yes, that's a great question. That's a great question. And it is running easy days easy, making easy days easy, and making hard days hard. So, um, especially if you're feeling good in a training block, it's very difficult sometimes to just slow down to, a minute and a half, a 2 minute longer pace than what you're normally used to, and or slower pace than what you're normally used to. And if you're constantly I call it the gray zone. So you're not running super fast and you're not running slow enough to recover. You do the majority of your runs in this gray zone. You never fully recover. So that is the biggest mistake. Especially on a team, I know that oftentimes, the coach will prescribe an easy run, and one or two of you guys will go out at like a tempo pace, and then everybody else just follows too. And so now all of a sudden it's a tempo run, not an easy run. So easy runs easy is
easy
the
runs easy.
biggest piece of advice. Yes.
I couldn't have said
Yes.
it better. I mean, I kind of did expect that because like, oh man, I could go into a whole section on myself about that. But
I
okay,
know that could be a whole nother topic.
so that's for topic for another day. All right.
Yes.
So my initial question was going to be, how important do you find like cross training and strength training to be? But obviously, very important. So my follow up is going to be, which one do you prefer? Do you think strength training benefits you more, or do you think cross training benefits you more?
So that's another really good question. And I will say that it is dependent on the individual, number one. And it's dependent, I think, on the stage that they're at in their training. So, for example, you at your stage in your career, I would say that cross training is probably a little bit more important, although strength training is still important, but
Yeah.
I would say cross training just to get your muscles doing something different other than that just repetitive motion, right? And then for me at my stage in the game, strength training is definitely more important because, just as your body ages and, you're asking for different things from your training, you have to have the strength and you have to have that bone strength in order to sustain, the rest of your training.
Yeah. Do you think that if you had strength trained more as a kid, you wouldn't have had to do it anymore, like now, or as much as you do now, or do you think it's just bound to happen? Like you're.
I think it's bound to happen. I think one thing that I love to do when I work with younger athletes is kind of instill the importance of strength training in them, because while I don't think it is as important um, for younger athletes to do it, I think it is very important for them to get into the habit of doing it. And I will even go so far, Zach, as to, if I'm coaching somebody and say I prescribe like a 5 mile run plus strength, and as we all know, time is short, and the athlete's like, I can't fit that all in. I will say, knock off 2 miles, just do a 3 mile run and include the strength. Just make sure you're including the strength.
Gotcha. So it's less about
Yeah.
the volume and more about what
Yes.
you're. Gotcha. All
Yep.
right. I'm gonna switch. Sorry, I have like my whole list here. I'm gonna switch it over to Run CLT Run.
Yeah.
Is that? Am I saying that right? I feel like there's only one way to
Run
say it.
skill to your
There we
run.
go.
Yeah. Yep,
Okay.
you're right.
All right. A significant part of your contribution. Here, I'm gonna say it again. A significant part of your contribution to the Charlotte running community is Run CLT Run. What inspired that? Like, what made you think like I want to go out and I want to make this and I want to help runners and I want to. What happened? What sparked your
Yeah.
interest?
I love this story because it involves kind of just a my overall philosophy. It was like 2016. So I moved to Charlotte when I had little babies, and so I wasn't doing a bunch of group runs. But I also was aware, I kind of paid attention. I kind of sat back and paid attention to the running community. And I realized that not just me, but it was pretty intimidating to walk up to any kind of run club. And, in my opinion, running should be kind of a common ground. So while you and Isaac could probably never like do a race together, you and I could, if you slowed way down and I sped up, you and I could go out on a training run together, right? Like that is one thing, you're a high school boy and I'm a middle-aged woman, but we have that commonality of running.
Maybe I'll hop into
And
a 100 miler. Maybe I'll.
yeah, yeah, you could prove it. But yeah, so I truly in my heart believe that running is such a common thread for those of us who do run. And I wanted to just kind of figure out a way to make that noticeable for everybody, right? So, in running and in life, we all have our like friendships and cliques and different groups, but I truly believe that running should be it is for everybody. And no matter how fast or how slow you go, that's all relative. And if we can all just kind of look at our similarities rather than our differences, the world would just be a better place.
That's the overall goal. And okay, speaking of goals, perfect. How has your vision changed for Run CLT Run? Have you thought like maybe I want to switch over more to coaching rather than like being a big community? Like how is that?
You're asking some good questions, Zach. Some great questions. So yes, it has changed. And one of the things that I'm a believer in is kind of building in public. Like I think that if you are doing something for the community, you need to have the community's input, right? So we recently, we are going through kind of a rebrand of Run Charlotte Run, and it is going to involve events that I work with. So some specific races like the summer track series. Um, it's going to involve like some marketing, so some branding, some logo development, some contracting with races to help them be more sustainable, or help them be more inclusive, and then also coaching. So I do some camps and clinics for youth athletes, which I really really love, and that is now part of kind of an umbrella company that is called Crown Collective. So Run Charlotte Run has kind of folded under that.
Gotcha. All right, and speaking of coaching, Forward Motion, another one of your founding brands, I guess. Brands?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So, oh, here it is. This is kind of repetitive. What motivated you to become a coach?
Yeah.
Just
What motivated me, I've always just loved working with, I really love working with like seniors and like youngsters. So kind of the opposite ends of the spectrum. I just really enjoy and kind of resonate with. And during COVID, when my oldest daughter, Gracie, was a junior, and my middle son, Nolan, was a freshman, you all could not practice. You could not practice for cross country during COVID. And Coach Hayes would send out the workouts for the week, and I would actually watch them look at their phone and then just like put it down and like continue watching TV or whatever else they were doing. And it was driving me nuts. And so I was like, okay, I cannot sit here and watch this happen. I called up Coach Hayes and I said, hey, like you might not be able to meet with these kids, but as an independent person, I am happy to meet them at a park and just kind of try to facilitate these runs that you want them to do. And so that's how it started. And it has grown into something that I love so much. I have 4 coaches that work with me, and we coach individuals from high school or middle school all the way up to adult, anywhere from people running their first mile. I'm coaching a girl right now who wants to try out for field hockey, and she's got to run a mile. She's never run before, so we are getting her to that 8-minute 30-second mile. If it
right.
if it kills us both, all the way up to 100-mile races, which I have a guy right now who's going to be doing one in July out in Seattle. So the whole gamut, and I really love it. I love that personal interaction.
Gotcha. And follow up on that, do you think like your own races have kind of like affected your teaching style, like how you'll give information to other runners?
Definitely. Yes, for sure. I actually, when I have a big race or a goal race that I really want to get after, I have an outside coach as well. Because if I am, I want to just kind of be told what to do. I don't want to be putting the thought process through it. But when I'm working with an athlete, I have likely been where they are or where they are hoping to go. And so, just based on my personal experience, I can offer advice, I can offer, some thoughts about training. And definitely, again, my philosophy, no junk miles. I am not one of those coaches that prescribes just a bunch of miles, but each of my runs has a very specific purpose. And I let the athlete know what that purpose is, because I believe the teaching, like if I am sharing something with you, if I'm writing a plan for you, I want you to know the why. I don't want you to just blindly do it. I want you to understand why, so that when hopefully you go on without me and you do bigger and better things, and you have that knowledge.
Gotcha. Gotcha, yeah. Okay, so earlier we kind of glazed over how you think that like the mental side of running is like such a big thing. Could you elaborate, like, and maybe even give it like a personal experience where like you were gonna quit and you were like, oh, I need to finish. Like how important is it?
Yeah. I believe that people really underestimate the impact of the mental strength you need to run. You are a runner, and I know that you know the ups and downs that it takes you through. Some days you can go out and feel like you could, win win the Olympics. And some days you go out and you feel like you've never run a step in your life. Running is just so variable. And in order to stick with it, you just need to really be able to tap into yourself and know that one bad run or one bad race does not define you. And that you are eventually going to have a really good run or a really good race. But it's hard to, especially when you're in it. And you asked for an example. So again, some of these runs that I do, I'm by myself. I don't have a big group around me pushing me. And it would be really easy to just be like, this is dumb. I'm just going to sit by this tree for a while. But, the mental piece, like I know that the feeling that I will get at the end will make it all worth it. So even if in the moment I kind of start to go down a downhill spiral, I know enough to know that I'll get out of it. And I think, my advice for athletes that I work with who sometimes struggle, with the mental component of it and just get in their own head is to just zoom out. You gotta, when you start to go down and really overthink things and really get in your own head about things, you just got to zoom out and look at the bird's eye view. Like, okay, this one run, this one race in the big picture, it's not going to be the end of it, So, um, and I think, the other thing with mental toughness, Zach, is that you have to practice it. You have to practice that just like you practice running. And, just everyday things. If you start to pay attention, you start to notice the way your mind works, you can apply that to running as well.
Gotcha. All right. Some fun questions now. We have.
Okay.
I think I'll come up with three or something. I don't have all of them written down. But first question: what is your favorite pre-race meal?
Oh,
Or here, let's specify. There's an afternoon 5K.
all right. I love it. So pre-race would be probably egg, bagel, and probably like a protein kind of a shake with coffee. I would say I'd mix it up with coffee.
Gotcha.
That would be in the morning, right? And then like say the race is what time's the race at?
Let's go 4.
Okay, 4, you're making it hard on
All right,
me.
we'll go 5.
Okay,
We'll go
so
5. Here, whatever time you want.
no, let's go with 4. Let's go with 4. You have to be ready for all kinds of scenarios.
Fair enough.
Okay, so that would be my breakfast. Lunch would probably be something very, very mild. My go-to evening meal before a race is chicken noodle soup and like some really good bread, like sourdough bread. So I'm gonna go with that too for lunch.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then right before, like an hour before, I would have something kind of quick, like applesauce or something that's very easily digestible and can just really give me some energy.
Gotcha. Okay, I've been seeing I've been going to running companies and I'll see like gels and energy waffle. Do you think those help or are they just like all mental?
No, I think they definitely help. I think they definitely help. I think they're definitely gross.
Uh-huh.
I do not like gels. Uh, the only one, and I've tried them all. I have tried them all. The only one that I can stomach is the Huma, Huma, Huma gels. And they have an applesauce one, and I just have to convince myself that it is actually just applesauce. That's the only way I can get it down.
Yeah. And do you take them on your 100-mile runs? Because obviously you
Yeah.
need, yeah.
Yeah. That's the easiest way to get calories in, Yeah.
All right, I have a philosophical question. And I feel like I'm gonna know the answer to this, and
Okay.
maybe one more after. Okay, what if you were say you were back in high school, and you had the opportunity to go to like a D1 school that had mediocre coaches but really good facilities, or you could go Division 3, get a good academic, what's the word, degree, academic degree. Maybe they don't have the best resources, but they have really good coaches. Which one would you choose?
Zach, you know the answer. The coaches. You
Yeah.
got to go with the coaches. You have to. What you're going to gain is so much more valuable over the long term with a really good coach, than any, shiny kind of bells and whistles with a good facility.
Yeah.
Um, you're working at the end of the day on you, right? So you are who you walk off the track with. So you got to make sure that you are getting the most out of the situation.
Gotcha. All right, last question. It's a very deep one, but
Okay.
have you like are you up to date with like the new like NCAA roster limits?
I am not.
Okay.
I will say I am not up to date. I do have a coach that I rely on heavily with all that kind of stuff. Natalie Tyner knows all of that jazz. So no, no,
Okay.
I don't.
Well,
Sorry.
I'll brief you. They're cutting it to I believe it's you can correct me or don't I'll look it up. I'll look it
Yeah,
up because I don't know if you can correct me.
I'm
But
not going
I
to
think it's
correct you.
45 per for a track team
Okay.
and 17 for cross country. Like for I think track is for both boys and girls and cross country is separated. 17 for
Wow.
men, 17 for women. And
Okay.
the SEC has taken it and they've gone we're putting it at 35 for a track team and we're putting it at 10 for a cross country team for like football and basketball just to open up more opportunities in like the money making sports.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that this will cause a lot of runners to like quit, or do you think it's going to cause them to go, hey, well we can't go D1, but maybe we'll go D2 or D3, or maybe we'll do a running club? Like, what do you think it's going to be even split? Like, I'd like to know.
I believe, just like with talent, like if you love to run, you're going to find a way to run. If you love to act, you're going to find a way to act. If you love to play an instrument, you're going to figure out how to do it. So I believe and I hope that, these young athletes will, still follow that passion of running. And even if it kind of goes back to your previous question with the bells and whistles and the fancy track, and then maybe not so ideal coaching, you can have a really, really good experience at a D3, D2 school. And you can, carry that with you forever. That's such a huge, huge gift to have been able to perform at the second level or the next level at any school. So, yeah, I think that it will hopefully cause those that are truly, truly passionate about the sport to continue on, maybe at a different avenue. And then the ones who are kind of doing it for show or are kind of doing it maybe more for ego than heart, that might, cause them to kind of quit. But then you just have to ask yourself, were their priorities right in the first place?
Yeah.
So I think it will all work out. I think it'll all shake out.
All right. Well, thank you so much for
This was
this
fun.
conversation. Thank you. I'll
Yes, you did a great job. Anything else, you let me know. I'll be on again.
sounds great. All right. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Zach.
See ya.
Bye.